Hi, YouTube. Right now, I'm going to talk to you about the possible fall of Twitter. Twitter, for a long time, has started to cause a lot of an uproar, but I remember some time in the past when Twitter was actually a viable source of free speech in places that needed it. I remember the Arab Spring and all that stuff like that. Those parts were important. They did something. They at least showed that Twitter was a force for good. And that really seemed like activism. Then the wrong kind of activists took over on Twitter, and they started whining. And they started crying, whining, and telling people not to invade their little safe space because that's what they wanted to do. They nested in Twitter and decided to basically make it their little home. They wanted to make sure that everybody knew they could not speak their mind or criticize anyone. Eventually, they bullied the people at the very top of Twitter who allow them to take nearly full control of the situation. Of course, nothing was done right away. Not that I knew of. But eventually, it happened. So, I knew that making someone like Anisha Sarkeesian, one of the most hated people on Twitter by certain people, part of this council for safety on Twitter, was a bad thing, and I'm sure there's plenty of other people on that council that are pretty demented. Pretty much as demented as her. So somebody actually decided to criticize her, and I think they were just trying to challenge the limits of the Security Council to prove once and for all that free speech was truly being harmed. Anyways, the person's last name is Maplethorpe. I don't remember the whole handle that they had, but what they did was basically they called out Sarkeesian. And you know how Sarkeesian's always told everyone, "Oh, I've gotten rape threats, I've gotten death threats, and all this stuff like that." This person was critical of her, but none of those techniques were used. Logical arguments were used to point out her fallacies and her entire campaign of idiocy in front of everyone in Twitter. Of course, eventually she probably would have blocked him. I mean, if not for the fact that now she had even more power because now she's part of this council. But the criticism was on her Twitter. They criticized her about the entire situation on Gamergate, and they pointed out everything that happened to her. And lo and behold, since she now has the power with all these other groups, she implemented her first real power move. She actually got this person banned. She effectively did what we thought she would do. She used her power to squash free speech. But we knew she was going to do that because obviously, if you watch any of her videos, she will not let you criticize her on YouTube. So that's pretty much true. She'll block your ass if you criticize her on Twitter. And now that she has power over Twitter, she can actually ban you from Twitter. Now, I find that ridiculous. Really ridiculous. Ever since that case in Canada with that man who was basically criticizing the another Canadian feminist, he also got into a serious world of hurt because she was crying and complaining and lying about him, and she couldn't stand criticism. So what did she do? She actually got the guy banned from the internet. And he actually, I think, went to jail for this, and he wasted no time in making him spend money over his own free speech in Canada. Honestly, I hope this never happens in the US because people like this don't deserve to be, you know, regulating any kind of speech at all. Something has to be done. Anyways, I've been going on too far about this. All I can say is honestly, in the next couple of weeks to months, we could see a huge downgrade in Twitter. Twitter is no longer worthwhile truly being on. I will probably be on there for a little bit longer. Um, I don't have a huge following, of course, but I'm just making this video because honestly, Twitter used to make a difference. Now it's nothing more than a sanctuary for crybabies and babies. If you can't stand other people talking to you and you love being coddled, maybe you should go to Twitter. If you want to live in the real world, that's another thing. Discrimination is one thing, but standing up to it by being mature is a lot better than being a crybaby about it. Because you cannot stop people from having their own opinions, even if they're the worst you have ever seen. It just does not work that way. Anyways, I'm signing out. Free speech for all. Don't let people like Anisha Sarkeesian, well, even if I spelled it wrong, take away your right to say what the fuck you want to say. Peace out.